Hey everyone, this is Tasman from Tasman's Crochet Creations, and in this video this is going to be a little tutorial on how to crochet this beautiful Amigurumi bear. This bear is very cute and cuddly, as you can see. Say hello. So yeah, in this tutorial I'll show you how to make this whole bear from start to scratch, so from the head to the legs to the arms to everything. And I'm going to go through it slowly with you, but once I get through the main stitches, like the single crochet and the increase and the decreases, and it's basically everything the same throughout the bear. You'll obviously just use those stitches differently, but yeah, so let's get started with today's tutorial on how to crochet this beautiful Amigurumi bear. So for this crochet bear, I'm going to be using this yarn, which is Elle Cotton On, Get Your Craft On. It's double knit, and it is 100% virgin cotton, and it does recommend a 4mm crochet hook, and this is a 25-gram ball, and it's in the color baby blue. Okay, so it's a really big ball there. Okay, so as it said on the label, with that we'll be using a 4mm crochet hook. You'll also be needing a tapestry needle, some scissors, as well as a stitch marker, some toy stuffing, and we'll also be needing some safety eyes. I'm not quite sure what size yet we will use. It all kind of depends on how big the bear is going to get. Yeah, so I'm not working by pattern or anything, I'm working as I go. So yeah, but in my hands now I have a 18mm, this is 18mm safety eyes. These ones are 14 and these ones are 16. Yeah, okay, so I'll choose one of these three. So yeah, you'll also be needing some black thread or cotton to do the embroidery of the nose and the mouth or the snout. So yeah, let's get started with the tutorial. Okay, so to begin, we are going to start off with the head, and how we're going to do that is we're going to form a magic ring. So we're going to take our yarn, wrap it around our fingers to form an X, like that, and then we're going to put a hook under the first loop, pick up the second loop, but keep all of those on your hook, sorry, on your fingers, and then you're going to take, you're going to yarn over and you're going to just do a chain one. And now since your magic ring is secured, you can take it off your fingers. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to place 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So and a single crochet is insert, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Okay, well, the 2 loops on your hook. Okay, so again it's insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, let me actually get a bit closer here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we have 2 single crochets. Okay, so now we're gonna do 4 more single crochet into the magic ring. Okay, but what I like to do for amigurumis is I like to insert and then yarn under, because like a normal crochet you'd yarn over and then pull through and then pull through 2 loops on your hook. But because I'm doing amigurumi, I am going to in fact yarn under. So it's insert and then the yarn goes under the hook, like that. And then I just yarn over. Okay, let me just get my camera to stay focused. Okay, so now I've done 3 single crochets. So now I'm just going to do another 3 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and 6. Okay, and now that we are done with our 6 single crochets, we're just going to take our tail end and we're just going to pull that closed. Okay, and so now we are not going to slip stitch, we're just going to continue on to the next round, and this is where the stitch marker comes in handy. Okay, so I'm going to work over my tail end, so now I've just inserted into the beginning most stitch, and then I'm going to take my tail end and wrap it over my hook like that. I'm going to yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through two to do the first single crochet of the round. I'm actually going to do that a bit tighter. The first loop is a bit big. Okay, so again with working over my tail end, I'm just going to do a single crochet, and then I'm going to get my stitch marker, and then I'm going to place it in the first stitch. Okay, and then we're just going to place one more single crochet into that stitch. Okay, so now for round 2 is going to be an increase in every stitch. So we've already put 2 stitches into the 1 stitch. So that's all that an increase is just putting 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So you go into the next stitch and we're going to put 2 single crochets. Okay, that's 1 and that's 2. Into the next stitch, again 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. Sorry, I'm actually yarning over instead of under. Okay, so into the next stitch, doing another 2 single crochets. Next stitch, do another 2 single crochets. Okay, so you just do that all the way around, and by the end of this round you should have 12 single crochets, because you did 6 stitches in the beginning, so for the next round you should have double that amount. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so now for the next round we are going to do something different. So we're going to do 1 single crochet into the first stitch like that. So I'm going to put my stitch marker back. Okay, so it's 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and then the next stitch we're going to do an increase, so that's 2 single crochets. Okay, 2 single crochets, and then we're going to go 1 single crochet in the next. So it's 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochet. So 1 more, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then an increase, or 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and then an increase, and then it's 1 single crochet, and then it's an increase, okay, and then it's 1 single crochet, and then an increase, and then it's 1 single crochet, and then an increase. Okay, so that's what round 3 should be looking like so far. Okay, and then for the next round we're going to do 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So that's 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and then I'm just going to put my stitch marker back, and then it's 1 single crochet into the next stitch as well. So it's 1 single crochet in the next 2, and then an increase. Okay, and the way to tell when to do an increase is, if you look carefully, there's the increase there. So my next increase should be on the last stitch of the increase. To me it looks like the middle stitch, the stitch in between those 2 increases. That's the way I always remember when to do an increase. So again, it's 1 single crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2, and then we do an increase in the middle of the increase. Okay, so an increase is 2 single crochets. Okay, so there we go. See, if I go back to my previous one, there's the increases lining up with the increases of the previous round. Okay, so again it's 1 single crochet in the next 2, and then an increase, and then 1 single crochet in, sorry, I moved my camera by mistake, 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Sorry, I don't like the way those look. So it's 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then an increase, okay. Okay, yeah, and the increase is in this next stitch. Then it's 1 single crochet in the next 2, and then when your last stitch should be an increase. So that's also a way to check if you're on track, is that every last stitch of the round should be an increase if you started with 1 single crochet in the first stitch. So you should end on an increase. Yeah, so for the next row we are now going to put 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and then we are going to put 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then an increase, whoops, okay, and then an increase, and then it's 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Oopsie, just going to do that last stitch one more time. Okay, so then you just repeat that all the way around, doing 1 single crochet in the next 3, and then an increase, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're going on to the next round. Okay, so now I've come to the end of my round, and I've just done an increase in the last stitch. So now for the next round we are just going to place 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So it's 1 in the beginning, and then in the next 3 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then an increase like that. Okay, so you just repeat that around, doing 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then increase. Okay, so you just repeat that all the way around, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're at the beginning again. Okay, so now I'm back at the beginning again. So now for this next round, you're just going to put 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches, as I'm sure you would have guessed it by now. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then an increase. Okay, and then you just repeat that all the way around, putting 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches, and then an increase into the next. And then I'll meet back up with you when we're at the end of this round. Okay, so now I'm moving on to the next round, and for this next round we're just going to put 1 single crochet into the next 6 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then an increase. Okay, so you just repeat that all the way around, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're at the beginning again. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next round, and I think we're going to do 2 more increase rounds. Okay, so for this next round we are going to put 1 single crochet into the next 7 stitches. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then an increase. Okay, so for this round, that's all that we're going to be doing, is putting 1 single crochet in the next 7 and then an increase, and you're just going to repeat that all the way around until you get back to the beginning again. Okay, so now I only actually did 1 more increase round, which was the 1 single crochet in the next 7 and then an increase. So I think we're going to stop with the increases now and actually start to turn this into a round head, basically. Okay, so I actually forgot to mention how many stitches we'll have in each round. So at the very center there's 6, 12, and then the third round 18, fourth round 24, fifth round 30, sixth round 36, seventh round 42, and then in the 8th round it's 48, and then in the last round it's 54. Yeah, so now after you have done your 1 single crochet, after you have done 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches and then done an increase after you've done that round, we are going to move on to the next round. Sorry, I just noticed that I didn't put 2 stitches in the last stitch like I should have done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, increase. Okay, so for the next round, well, actually for the next 5 rounds, we are going to put 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So it's literally just 1 single crochet in every stitch, and you should still keep the same stitch count, which is 54. So you should keep the same stitch count. So yeah, you're literally just going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch around until you get back to the beginning, and you'll do that for the next 5 rounds. So in total you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the next 14 rounds. So 1 single crochet in the next 5 rounds, and in total you'll have 14 rounds. Yeah, so I'll meet back up with you when we are at the beginning after we have done 5 rounds. Okay. Alright, so now I've come back and I have just finished up my 5 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So this is what it should be looking like so far. Okay, so now we're going to start decreasing. Okay, we are now going to start decreasing and to start forming, what would you call it, the bottom of the head, basically. Okay, so we are going to put 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we are going to do a decrease. So in order to do a decrease, we are going to go into the front loop of the next stitch. So if you see here, there are two loops, a front loop and then a back loop. You can see that there clearly. So the strand that's closer to you is the front loop, the one that's further away from you is the back loop. So we're going to go into the front loops of these two stitches. So you're going to go through just the front, as you can see, so just through the front, and you should come out like in the middle of the stitch between the front and the back loop. And then we're going to go through the front loop of the next stitch, so you have the two front loops of the two stitches on your hook. So you're going to yarn under, pull through those two loops, and then yarn over and pull through the two loops on your hook. Now that's a decrease. And then you'll go into the next stitch, do a single crochet, and then another one single crochet in the next 6 stitches. But it's one single crochet in between, sorry, it's 7 single crochets in between the decreases. So same as before with the increases. So instead of increasing, we're decreasing. So decrease looks like so it looks like that the single crochet is inside a loop. I don't know if that makes much sense, but it definitely looks different from any other single crochet. So it looks like this single crochet is in like a loop of some sorts. So yeah, that's kind of how I can tell that it's a decrease. So yeah, but anyway, you will just continue putting one single crochet in the next 7 stitches and then doing a decrease. So I've done 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's 5, 6, 7, and then a decrease. Yeah, and then you just continue that all the way around until you get back to the beginning again, and then I'll catch up with you when we're going on to the next decrease round. Okay, so now we are going on to the next round, and now we are going to decrease again. You're going to put one single crochet into the next 6 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to do another decrease. Yeah, and then it's again one single crochet into the next 6 stitches, and then a decrease, and then you just repeat that all the way around until we get back to the beginning. And this is what it should be looking like so far. Quite like that. Okay, so you can just carry on with that row, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're at the end of this round. Okay, so we're moving on to the next round. We are going to put one single crochet into the next 5 stitches, and then a decrease. So that's 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to do a decrease into the next stitch, and then you're going to repeat that all the way around, doing one single crochet in the next 5, and then a decrease. And then I will meet back up with you when we are at the beginning of the next round, or the end of this round. Okay, so now we have come to the end of that round, And now what we're going to do is we are now going to insert the safety eyes. So now after we have completed the last round, we are going to put in the safety eyes now. Okay, so I'm actually not going to use the ones that I showed on camera previously. Those just looked a bit weird. They were the big brown ones. They were the smallest of the big brown ones, and it didn't look right. It looked weird. So I'm going to be using these. These safety eyes are the biggest ones I have. I think these are the 8mm safety eyes. Let me just grab a ruler quickly and then I can tell you. These 12mm safety eyes. Okay. So of course you'll be needing 2 of those. So we're going to place our safety eyes between the 10th and the 11th round from the top. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So between those 2 rows, you're going to just stick it in there. And then you're going to place the next stitch marker 10 single crochets from the first one. So if you look, this is the first single crochet after the safety has been inserted. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in between the 10th and the 11th stitch. Just gonna insert that in. There we go, like that. Okay, so that's what it should look like. Okay, so we're also just going to leave a gap there because obviously the little snout or the muzzle is going to go on the front over here. So that is what it looks like with the little eyes. I think it looks cute. Okay, so now we're just going to put the little washes on the back. Okay, so just going to grab a few of these. Oopsie, bumped the camera. Okay, well, not a few of them, just one. Okay, so we're going to put one behind each little safety eye. So the way. Okay, there we go. Come on. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's the first one inserted. Okay, so now we get the other washer and put that on. Okay, come on. This is the fiddliest part of the project. Oh, putting the safety eyes on. There you go. Oh, there we go. Now that's snapped into place. Okay. So there are the safety eyes. Here you go. Hi. Okay. Great. So now that's done and out of the way. Let me pack this away quickly. Okay. So now we are going to move on to the next round. So we are just going to, let me just do this decrease one more time. Okay, there we go. Okay, so onto the next round. We are now going to put 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So that's 1. Place your stitch marker back. There. Okay, so place your stitch marker back. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and then you're going to do a decrease in the next 2 stitches, or 1 decrease over the next 2 stitches. Okay, then again you're going to repeat that, putting 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. and then you will put a decrease into the next stitch, or over the next stitch. Okay, so you can just repeat that all the way around until we get back to the beginning again, and then we'll go on to the next round. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next round, and with the next round we are just going to do 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So that's 1, stitch marker back, 1, 2 and 3, and then a decrease. Okay, so and a decrease, and then again 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So that's 1, 2 and 3, and then a decrease. Okay, so you just repeat that all the way around until you get back to the beginning again. Okay, so moving on to the next round, we are now going to put 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So that's 1, 2 and then a decrease. Oops, sorry, I bumped my camera. Okay, so did a decrease, and then that's 1 single crochet in the next 2 again, and then a decrease. Okay, so you can just repeat that all the way around until we get back to the beginning again. Okay, so now that we have done that many rounds, we are now going to stuff our little head. He looks a bit like an alien head at the moment. Poor thing. Okay, so now we're going to get some stuffing, and we're going to now stuff we are now going to stuff the head of the bear. Yeah. So you just want to grab quite a bit of polyfil. I've noticed that amigurumis take up quite a bit of poly stuffing, so it's good to stock up on it. Yeah, I buy 2 bags of stuffing at a time, and they do last me quite a bit, but I go through a bag quite quickly if I'm doing quite a lot of amigurumis. But yeah, so what you want to do is just stuff your little head quite well. Okay, so you're just going to keep putting in all of that stuffing. Okay, now it's starting to take shape. Okay, so you don't want to overstuff it, but you also don't want to understuff it. Yeah, so she says feels quite soft and squishy. It's like a little stress ball. Okay, I think maybe just a little bit more stuffing. Okay, so that is what the head should look like after it has been stuffed. Yeah, so now we're just gonna finish closing up the rest of this. Yeah, so now what we are going to do, alright, so now we're going to move on to the next round. Yeah, so for this last, well not last round, but for this next round we are going to put 1 single crochet. Make sure you put your stitch marker back, 1 single crochet, and then a decrease, and then 1 single crochet and decrease. Okay, so 1, let's see, So 1 single crochet and then a decrease, and then one, whoopsie, let me do that again. I don't like that. Okay, but yeah, you'll just repeat this all the way around until you get back to the beginning again, and then we'll move on to the next round. Okay, so now I've come to the end, and now we're going to move on to the next round. Okay, so for the next round, we are just going to be doing a decrease all the way around. So there's not going to be any more 1 single crochet stitches in between the decreases. Yeah, because now we're going to close up the hole. Okay. So by the end of this round, your stitch count should have gone down, back down to 6. Okay, so you're just going to put a decrease in every stitch around to bring your stitch count from 12 back down to 6. Okay, I've got 2 more stitches to decrease. Okay, last stitch. Oops. Yeah. There. And there. Okay. And then do the last single crochet. Okay. Okay, so now what we can do after that's done, you can just slip stitch into the next stitch, and the slip stitch is just, it's just insert, let me make sure to get both loops, insert, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop on your hook to do a slip stitch. And you're just going to want to grab your scissors, and then cut a bit of a tail end, so maybe about there. You don't need a long tail end, just pull that up. Okay, and now you're going to get your darning needle. Okay, so now after you've got your darning needle, you're just going to want to thread your darning needle. Okay, so just thread your needle on. Such a cute guy. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to go through the front loops of the stitches. So like we were doing with decreasing, we are going to do one big decrease going through the front loops of each and every stitch. Okay, so you don't have to go all at a time, and then you just go through the front loops of each stitch, going around. Then I think I had one more. Okay, then what I like to do is I like to just go back through the center of the hole, so out to the side, and then that should neaten up a bit. There we go, and then we can just sew in our tail end. We can just sew this to the one side, pull it out, sew to another side, and then once you're happy with sewing in your end a little bit, just going to take your scissors, pull on the end a little bit, cut it, and then let it go, and then your tail end should hide inside it. Yeah, so that is what your head should be looking like. So yeah, now we're going to move on to the body. Okay, so now we are going to move on to the body. So the way we're going to start off the body is basically the same way we did the head. So we are going to form a magic ring or a magic circle, and then I'm just going to chain one to secure a magic ring. Okay, so again we're just going to put 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, so again you'd want to yarn under instead of yarn over, just to form a tighter single crochet stitch, so that when we stuff it, you don't have the stuffing coming through, or showing through, not coming through. Okay, so that's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you will also be needing a stitch marker, and I actually forgot to get mine out, so let me just grab my stitch marker. I'm going to get an orange one so it's not the same color as my work. Okay, so now for the next round we are going to place an increase into every stitch. So we're going to take our stitch count up from 6 to 12. So again we're going to yarn under, do a 1 single crochet and then another one into the same beginning stitch, like that. Okay, so we have 2 single crochets in the same stitch. We're going to put our stitch marker in the first stitch of the 2, and then we're going to go into every stitch around and put 2 single crochets into every stitch around. Okay, and then I'll meet back up with you when we have completed this round. Okay. Okay, so now we are back at the beginning again, and now I'm just going to remove my stitch marker, and then I'm going to do 1 single crochet into that first stitch, and then I'm going to place my stitch marker back. And then for this next round we're going to put 1 single crochet and then an increase, 1 single crochet increase, so it's 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and then it's an increase, so 2 single crochets into the same stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then an increase into the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then an increase. And then you just repeat that pattern all the way back around until we get back to the beginning again. Okay, so now we are back at the beginning again, and I have also ended on an increase like how you would have in the previous round. So now moving on to the next round, we are going to do 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then an increase, so that's 1 single crochet in the first stitch already, and then we are now going to do 1 single crochet, oops, bumped the camera, and then 1 single crochet into the next stitch and then an increase in the next stitch. Okay, so we're going to repeat that all along, doing 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then an increase in the next, and you'll just repeat that all the way around until we get back to the beginning again. Okay, so now we have come back to the beginning again, and or to the end of the round, and we are now going to move on to the next round. So for the next round we are going to place 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, so that's 1, 2, and then whoopsie, and then 3 stitches. Okay, and then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch, and then we're going to repeat that all the way around, doing 1 single crochet in the next 3 and then an increase into the next. Okay, So you just repeat that all the way around, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're at the beginning again. Alright, so now we are back at the beginning again. So now we are going to move on to the next round. And for the next round, we are going to place one single crochet. We are going to place one single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So that's 1 already done, 2, 3, and 4, and then an increase in the next stitch. So that's 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochet in the same stitch, and then we're just going to repeat that all the way around, doing 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches, and then an increase in the next stitch. Okay, so you can just repeat that all the way around, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're at the beginning again. Alright, so now we are back at the beginning again, and for the next round we are just going to place 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then an increase into the next stitch. That's 1, 2 for an increase, and then we'll just repeat that all the way around, putting 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches, and then an increase into the next stitch. Okay, so you can just repeat that all the way around, and then I'll meet you back at the beginning again. Alright, so now we are back at the beginning again, and now we will move on to the next round. And for the next round, we are going to put 1 single crochet into the next 6 stitches, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it'll be into the next 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we will do an increase into the next stitch, and then we will repeat that all the way around, putting 1 single crochet into the next 6, and then an increase. So we will just repeat that all the way around until we get back to the beginning again, and then I will show you the next round. Okay, so for the next round we are now going to put 1 single crochet into the next 7 stitches, and then an increase into the next. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then an increase in the next. Okay, so you'll just repeat that along all the way around, putting 1 single crochet in the next 7, and then an increase into the next stitch. So you'll repeat that all the way around, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're ready to go into the next round. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next round, and for the next 5 rounds it's going to be the same. So we're just going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch around. We're not going to be doing any increases or decreases. We are just simply going to be putting 1 single crochet into every stitch around until we get back to the beginning again. And as I said, we will do this for the next 5 rounds. So these rounds are exactly the same as we did for the head, and but after these next 5 rounds it's going to be different, because we're going to slowly decrease to give the bear a body. So we're gonna work the body, what would you call it? We're going to slowly decrease, giving the shape of to the body. Okay, so you can just go off putting one single crochet in every stitch around for the next 5 rounds. So by the end of the 5 rounds you should have 14 rounds in total. Okay, so I'll meet back up with you once we have those 5 rounds done and completed. Okay, so now that we have completed those 5 rounds, it should begin to look like this. It may look a bit big for the head, but don't worry, with decreasing it, it's going to bring the shape down. Okay, so for this next round, it's going to be a decrease round. So we are going to put one single crochet into the first 7 stitches. Okay, so that's 1, the first stitch, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. And then we're going to do a decrease. So again, a decrease is insert through the front loop of the next stitch and then the front loop of that next stitch. Yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, and then yarn over, pull through those 2 loops to do a single crochet. A single crochet. Well, it's a single crochet decrease, but anyway. And then you'll do 1 single crochet into the next 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a decrease. Okay, and then you will just repeat that all the way around, so we get back round to the beginning again, and then we'll move on to the next round. Okay, so now moving on to the next round, we're going to do one more decrease round. So we are going to put 1 single crochet into the next 6 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then a decrease in through those front loops, and then do a single crochet to do the decrease. So again, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a decrease. Okay, so you'll just repeat that all the way around until we get back up to the beginning again, and then I'll show you how to move on to the next round. Okay. Yeah, so moving on to the next row after we did those 2 decrease rounds. The last round was 6 single crochets and then a decrease. We are now just going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 2 rounds. See if I've got to put my stitch marker in. Okay, so yeah, you're just gonna put 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 2 rounds. So for this one and the next round. Okay, so you can just go on and you can go ahead and complete those 2 rounds, and then I'll come back with you when we're moving on to our next round. Okay. Okay, now moving on to the next round, we're going to be doing another decrease round after doing those two rounds of just single crochet. So for this next round, we're going to place 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then a decrease in the next stitch. Okay, you just repeat that all the way around, putting 1 single crochet in the next 5, and then put a decrease in the next following 2 stitches. Well, not 2 stitches, in the next stitch you're going to put the decrease. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another decrease. Okay, so you just repeat that all the way around, putting one single crochet in the next 5 and then a decrease. Then I'll meet you back up at the beginning again. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next round, and again we're going to be doing one single crochet in each stitch around for the next 2 rounds again. Okay, so again for the next 2 rounds it's just one single crochet in each stitch around till we get back to the beginning, and we would have kept the same stitch count of the previous row, and for the previous row we would have had 36 stitches. So for these single crochet rows of just no increases or decreases, we will be keeping the same stitch count. Okay, so you can just go off, do one single crochet in each stitch around for the next 2 rounds, and then I'll meet back up with you to do our next decrease round. Okay, so now moving on to the next round, we have done our 2 rows of one single crochet in each stitch around for the next 2 rounds. Okay, so for the next round we are going to do another decrease round. So we're going to be putting one single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then a decrease. Okay, and then you just repeat that all the way around, putting one single crochet into the next 4 stitches, 3 and 4, and then a decrease. Okay, and then you can just repeat that all the way around until you get back up to the beginning again, and then we'll move on to the next round. Okay, so now moving on to the next round, well, next 2 rounds. Again, we're going to be putting one single crochet into every stitch around for the next 2 rounds. Okay, let me just do that one again. Okay, yeah, so you're just going to put one single crochet into every stitch around for the next 2 rounds, keeping the same stitch count, which would be 30 stitches. Okay, so you're going to keep the same stitch count for the next 2 rounds. Okay, so you can just go ahead and do those 2 rounds of one single crochet in each stitch around, and then I'll come back and meet you up when we're going on to the next decrease round. Okay, so now moving on to the next round. This is now our last decrease round. So we are going to put one single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So that's 1, 2 and 3, and then a decrease into the next stitch. Yeah, so you just repeat that all the way along, putting one single crochet into the next 3 stitches and then a decrease. Okay, so you can just go off, do that all the way around, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to do the last 2 rounds. Okay, so now moving on to the last 2 rounds of the body, we are just going to be putting one single crochet into each stitch around for the next 2 rounds. Okay, so you can just do that, putting one single crochet into each stitch around for the next 2 rounds, and you would have kept the same stitch count as the decrease row, which is 18 stitches. So yeah, you can just continue putting one single crochet into each stitch around for the next 2 rounds. Okay, so now we have come to the end of our body. We have done our last 2 single crochet rounds. So now to the end of the body, we are just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So again, a slip stitch is just insert, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop on your hook. Okay, and then you're just going to grab your scissors, and then you're going to leave a bit of a tail because you do want to sew the body to the head. Scissors are going a bit blunt. Okay, so you're just going to pull up your loop. Come on, there you go. Pull up your loop. And there you go. So that's the body done. Now we can just stuff it. So if you put it up with the head, whoops. Okay. That is what it looks like. Hello. So yeah. It's short, it's small, it's cute. Okay, so let's grab some stuffing and then let's just stuff the body. I can get my fingers on there. Okay, so we're just going to stuff the body. Whoopsie, sorry, I bumped the camera. Excuse me. So yeah, we're just going to lightly stuff the body. You're not going to overstuff it or understuff it, so just going to stuff it just right. Okay. You want to make sure that all the stuffing gets into all of those corners of the body. Okay. Oopsie, dropped some stuffing on the floor. Okay, here we go. Let me just take some out because it's popping out the top, so we can just take a little bit out. Okay, here we go. That is what the body should look like, and there's the head. Okay. Okay, let's maybe take a little bit more stuffing out, because as I said, you don't want to overstuff it. Hello. Okay, I think that's cute. Okay, so if you're happy with the way your stuffing is or the way it looks, then we can sew the head onto the body. Okay. Alright, so let's sew the head onto the body. Okay, so now to sew the body to the head, we are just going to take our darning needle and our tail end, and we're just going to thread our darning needle. Okay, so this is the right or the top side of the head, and this is the underneath part of it. We're going to take the underneath part of the head, we're going to put it on top of the body, just hold it there, and then what we're going to do is where the head is sitting on the body, we are just going to go up into the head and then through the next stitch on the head, and then we're just going to pull that through, and then we're going to go into the next stitch and then go out through the next stitch of the body. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to try and hold it into place. If you want, you can use pins and pin it down, but I find that doesn't quite work for me. So you're going to go back into the where the thread is coming out on the head. You're going to go back into that stitch and then come out in the next stitch of the head, and then same with the body. So you're going to go back into the body where the thread is coming out of over there. Okay, you're going to make sure to keep your tension like tight all the way throughout. So okay, you're going to insert where your thread's coming out of on the body, insert, and then go through the next stitch like that. Okay, so you'll just repeat that all the way around, just sewing, oops, sorry, sewing the head to the body. So again, you'll insert into the stitch into the stitch that you came out before, and then out into the next stitch of the head, and then you're going to come in to the stitch that the thread's coming out of on the body. Let me just maybe get my camera to focus in that area there. Okay, so the thread's coming out of this stitch here, so we're going to insert into that stitch where it's coming out of, and then into the next stitch, or out of the next stitch of the body, and then back into the head, into the stitch that we came out of, and then back into the head. Okay, so you just repeat that all the way around, sewing the head onto the body. And when we're nearly at the end, when we're back around the other side, I'm just gonna come back, and I'm just gonna show you that we're just gonna stuff it a little bit more before we actually close the hole again, close the hole completely, to finish sewing the head to the body. Okay, so yeah, you can just go ahead and finish sewing the head to the body, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're nearly at the end. Okay, so now coming up towards the end, we are just going to stuff the neck a little bit more, because as you can see, it's like very soft, and yeah, there's not much stuffing in the neck. So we're just going to take a little bit more stuffing, and we're just going to stuff the neck just a wee bit more, just a little bit. Let's maybe break that one up. Okay, just until you're about happy with it. Maybe I might need the whole lot. The whole big amount of stuffing here. Not really, it's quite small. Okay, yeah, looks like I'll need quite a bit of the stuffing. Okay, so if you're happy with that, we can go ahead and we can continue to sew this closed. So as I said, I've just been doing I've just been sewing up into the head, coming in through one stitch, coming out the next stitch, and then back down into the body, and then back out the other stitch. Okay, so now we're just gonna sew this closed quickly after we put in some more stuffing. Okay, we're nearly at the end here. Okay, just going to go back into the head one more time, and then go into the body, and then come out the next stitch of thing. Okay, so that is what the neck should be looking like so far. Okay, whoops. Okay, so that's what it should be looking like so far. There we go, isn't he just cute? Okay, so now we're just going to hide our tail end. So to do that, we're just going to go back into the stitch that we came out of. We're going to come up anywhere, like we can go through the body, we can go up anywhere through any stitch, and then pull that through, and then again we're just going to go, we're going to insert our needle back where the thread came out of, and then we can even go back and down into the body if you'd like, and pull that through. Okay, you don't want to pull it too tight, just pull the yarn through, and then we are just going to insert again our needle through the same stitch we came out of, and then somewhere else on the body. Then again we can maybe do that one more time. So this time I'm just going to go back in the opposite direction towards the head. And I think maybe one more time. Let's go back into the head. Okay, so we're going to insert again to the stitch we came out of, and then just going to go up into the head on the stitch of the head. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now to end off, we're now just going to take our tail end and we're just going to pull on it slightly and then get our scissors, snip our yarn right close to the project, let it go, and then your tail end would have been released back into the project. Okay, so there we go. That is what our little fella should be looking like so far. So now we just need to crochet the arms and the legs and then the little ears and the little snout. Okay, so now let's start crocheting the arms. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the arms. So we are going to form a magic ring. So again, to do that, we are going to take our yarn and wrap it around our fingers to form like an X. You're going to insert our hook through the first loop, pick up the second loop, but leave everything on your fingers. You're going to yarn over and do a chain 1. Okay, so we are going to put 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Whoopsie. There we go. 1, 2, and 3. Again, we are with the single crochet stitches, we are yarning under instead of yarning over to give it a tighter look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. 6. Okay. And then we're going to move on to the next round. And for the next round, we are literally just going to place 2 single crochets into every stitch around. So we're going to do an increase into every stitch. Okay, so there's 1 and there's 2 single crochets for the first stitch. And we're going to insert our stitch marker. Okay. Okay, so there we go. So now we are again just putting 2 single crochets into every stitch around, putting an increase into every stitch, and a stitch count should have gone from 6 to 12. Okay, so you just repeat that all the way around until you get back to the beginning. Okay. Now that we're at the beginning, we're going to move on to the next round. Okay, and for this round and for the next 19 rounds, we are just going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch around for the arms. Okay, so again, it's literally just 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 20 rounds. So it's this round and then including 19 more after this round. But yes, altogether in total, we will have 20 rounds of just single crochets we will have 20 rounds of just 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Okay, so you can repeat that, putting 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 20 rounds, and then I will catch back up with you when we have completed those 20 rounds. Okay. Okay, so now I am back and I've completed those 20 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And so yeah, this is what our arm looks like, and basically this is our arm. I guess. So what I'm trying to say is that now this is the end of the arm. So now we are going to move on, and we are just going to take our slip stitch out, and we're just going to stitch marker out, and then we are just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And again, a slip stitch is just insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. Okay, and then we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut a little bit of a tail just for sewing. Okay, Come on, little scissors. Where are you? There we go. And then we are just going to pull that all the way through. Okay. So now that is one arm done. So now what we can do is just get some stuffing, and then we can stuff our arm. Okay, so now that I have some stuffing here, I'm just going to take some of it. We don't need a lot. But yeah, we're just going to push it in. And I also found that getting a blunt pair of scissors also helps with this. So you're just gonna push it down a little bit. Get my tail end out the way. Okay. You don't want to stuff it too much. Just a little bit of a light stuff, medium stuff, I guess. Don't want to stuff it too much. Also, like, want to compare it to the body or the head. You know, you want it to be the same consistency throughout. Okay. Can we just take a little bit more stuffing out? Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Okay, there you go. So now you just repeat those steps from round 1 to round 22, and yeah, then I'll come back and then I'll show you how to sew the arms to the body. Okay, so now I have both my arms worked up. So now we are just going to grab our little body, and now we are just going to start sewing the arms into the body. Okay, so oops, throwing my stuff all over the place. Okay, so you just want to get a tapestry needle. So we're going to start with one arm, put the one aside. We don't need the one right now. Okay, so again, I'm just going to take a darning needle, thread my darning needle on. Okay, let me maybe try and, if I can zoom out a little bit. I can't zoom out. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to sew the arm onto the body, roughly where I want it to sit. So okay, so I'm happy with it there. So I'm just going to take my yarn. Okay, so I'm just going to take my yarn and I'm just going to go weave it in through the side and then back in through the body like that. Okay. And then I'm just going to insert back where it came from. Sorry. Trying to make this as easy for everyone to see as possible. So yeah, we're just going to insert, put our needle through, and then make sure to catch the stitch of the body, pull that through, and then we are just going to go up into the next stitch. Come on, go up into the next stitch, then we're going to sew that down. We're going to go over into the next stitch, and then we are going to sew into the body and back out. Yeah, and then we're going to sew back into the arm, then we're going to sew back into the body again, and then we would want to grab like the corner of the arm. There we go, and then pull that through. Okay, so now we just need to also just secure this side to the bottom, if you can see there. secure the underneath of the arm to the body. So I'm just going to sew into the stitch and then through the arm, through the body, through the stitch of the arm, and then through the body, and then back into the arm, and then into the body. Okay, again, one more time, back into the stitch, and then into the body. Okay, there we go. There is our arm sewn on. I think I'm just going to neaten this off a little bit more, so just going to do that. Okay, there we go. So there is our one arm on our little guy. Oopsie. Yeah, there's his little arm. Isn't that just cute? Okay. So now we can just sew in our tail end, so we can go into the stitch where we came out of, insert anywhere onto the body, pull through a stitch, and then again insert through that stitch that you came out of, then come out a stitch anywhere else on the body, and then again insert through the stitch that you came out of, and then in through another stitch, and then again insert into the body, and then out through another stitch. Okay, then we're just going to take our scissors, and then again we're just going to pull the tail end and then cut as close to the project as you can, snip that off, and then the other tail end will go into the project. Okay, so this is what our little girl looks like. So now you can repeat that, sewing the other arm onto the body. Okay, so there we go. That is what our little guy is looking like so far. I think he's looking quite cute. Okay, so now we can move on to crocheting the legs, and then we'll sew that to the body. Okay, so now moving on to the legs, we are again going to form a magic ring. So we're going to take our yarn, form an X, then we're going to take our hook, insert under the first loop, pull the second loop, and then do a chain 1 to secure it. Then you can take it off your fingers. Okay, so to begin, we are going to put 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you can pull your tail end in to close that ring off, and then we are going to move on to the next round. And for the next round, we are going to put 2 single crochet into each stitch around, doing an increase. So that's 1 and 2. Okay, then we can place our stitch marker. There we go. There's our stitch marker. Okay. Yeah, so that's what it should be looking like. So then again, we're just going to be putting an increase into every stitch around. So your stitch count would have gone from 6 to 12 by the end of this round. Okay. Oops. Let me do that again. Okay, so now we have 12 single crochets into each stitch around. So now we're going to move on to the next round. Oops. So moving on to the next round, we are going to place 1 single crochet in the first stitch, put our stitch marker back, and then we are going to do an increase into the next stitch like that, and then again 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch, or an increase. Okay, so you just repeat that around, doing 1 single crochet and then an increase in the next stitch. Okay, so you just repeat that all around, putting 1 single crochet, then an increase, and then 1 single crochet, increase all the way around. Then I'll come back and meet up with you when we're going into the next round. Okay, so now I've completed that round, and by the end of this round we should have had 18 stitches. So our stitch count would have gone from 12 to 18. Okay, so moving on to the next round, we are going to place 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So that's 1, 2, and then an increase into the next stitch. So that's 1 and 2 for an increase, and then again it's 1 single crochet in the next 2, 1, 2, and then an increase. Okay, so you just repeat that all the way around, putting 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then an increase into the next stitch, and then I'll come back and meet you up when we're going on to the next round. Okay, so now I have completed that round, and our stitch count would have gone from 18 to 24. Okay, so for the next 5 rounds we are just going to be putting 1 single crochet into each stitch around for the next 5 rounds. Okay, so again it's just 1 single crochet into every stitch around for the next 5 rounds, and you'll keep the same stitch count. Your stitch count will remain the same, it will stay 24. So at the end of the 5 rounds you should still have 24 stitches at the end of each round. Okay, so you can go ahead and do those 5 rounds of just 1 single crochet into every stitch around, and then I'll come back and I'll meet up with you when we're going on to the next round. Okay, so now I have come back and I've completed those 5 rounds of just 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and this is what the leg or the foot should be beginning to look like now, and you would have kept the same stitch count of 24. Okay, so moving on to the next round, we are now going to decrease. So we are going to put 1 single crochet in the first stitch, put our stitch marker back on, oops, there we go. Okay, so it's 1 single crochet in the next stitch, yeah, so it's 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and then a decrease. And again, to do a decrease, it's going through the front loops of the next 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through those, whoopsie, let's do that again, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through those 2 loops on your hook. Okay, so again it's 1 single crochet in the next 2, 1, 2, and then a decrease to the front loops, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through those, and then yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so you just repeat that all the way around, putting 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then a decrease all the way around, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're at the beginning again. Okay, so now after I've completed that round, doing 1 single crochet in the next 2 and then a decrease, my stitch count should have gone back down to 18. Okay, so now we're going to do another decrease round. So we're going to put 1 single crochet into the first stitch. Let me just do that again. So it's 1 single crochet into the first stitch. See, put your stitch marker back. Then you're going to do a decrease into the next stitch. Yeah, so you do a decrease, and then again it is 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then a decrease in the next, and then 1 single crochet. See, and then 1 single crochet and then a decrease. Okay, so you just repeat that all the way around, putting 1 single crochet and then a decrease to every stitch around, and then I'll come back and meet you up when we're at the beginning of the round again. Okay, so now that we have completed our foot, this is what it should be looking like so far. So stitch count would have gone from 18 back down to 12. Okay, so now we're just going to place 1 single crochet into every stitch around, and we are going to do that for the next few rounds, and then we will stuff our foot before we go too far with the leg. Okay, so again you will just put 1 single crochet into every stitch around, say for the next 3 or 4 rounds, and then we'll stuff. Okay, so now after 4 rounds, this is what it should be looking like, and now it's time to just stuff the foot so that we don't have to struggle later. Okay, so we can just grab a little bit of stuffing. We don't need too much because I'm yarn stuck to that. Okay, so again we're just gonna push some stuffing into the body. It's probably best to get the scissors back and then just push the stuffing in with the scissors. Okay, again you don't want it to be too stuffed. Kind of want it like lightly stuffed. Whoops, sorry. Bumped the camera with the scissors. Okay. I think it should be maybe stuffed just a wee bit more. Okay. Okay, so now that that's stuffed, it should look something like this. So as you can see, we kind of already have like the shape of a shoe, if I can get a good angle on this. Okay, like there. So this portion here is going to be like the front of our foot. But yeah, so this is what it looks like so far. So now we're just going to carry on with the leg. And again, we are just going to continue to put 1 single crochet into every stitch around for the next 9 rounds, but in total we should have 14 single crochet rounds. That's from the last decrease that we did over there. Sorry, if I can just get my camera to focus. Okay, yeah, so from our last decrease, from that point, from the next row after our decrease, up until the 14 rounds. So yeah, as I said, we'll just be placing 1 single crochet into every stitch around, and in total we should have 14 rounds by the end of the leg. And then I'll show you how to end off the leg, and then we can sew the legs onto the body. Okay, oops. Yeah, so now I can go off and go and do that. Okay, so now I've come back and I've completed those 14 rounds of just one single crochet in each stitch around, keeping the stitch count of 12. So now to end off, we are just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So you insert, pull through, and then pull through that loop on your hook. Then we're going to grab our scissors. We are going to cut a bit of a tail to sew. And then you're just going to pull that through. Okay. Now we can stuff the leg, and that's what it looks like. Okay. So let's get some more stuffing, and let's stuff the leg. Okay. Just a little bit more. Oops. There we go. I've actually pushed some of the stuffing back into the foot to give it a bit of like more firmer, because it was a bit too soft for my liking. Okay, so yeah, we're just going to continue stuffing the leg. Okay, oops, clearly that's too much stuffing. Okay. Do a little bit more, maybe half of that. Okay, I guess that's enough. Yeah. Okay. So now once you have completed your first foot, you can go ahead and repeat all of those rounds from the first round to the end. And then I'll come back and then I will show you how we can sew the legs onto the body. Okay. Okay, so now that we have both of our feet crocheted, we are now going to bring in our bear, or our body, head and bear. Okay, so now we are just going to sew the feet onto the body. Okay, so let's set one aside, and then we can just take our yarn, thread our darning needle. Okay, so now you'll want like this part of the foot that's got more of like a incline to it. Yeah, so you want to take this portion. So this will be the front of the shoe, or the leg. Yeah, so you just want to roughly like hold it in place where you want it, and you can just eyeball roughly where you want it to be, and then we can start sewing. So by the looks of it, the end was touching this part, so I'm just gonna take my needle, sew in through there. Let me just pull my tail end out. There we go. Okay, so again, the leg must be facing you. So where's it? This side. Okay. So yes, so now we are just going to sew the leg onto the body. Okay, again, just kind of eyeballing where you want it, and then again you're just going to go through the stitch of the leg. Just pull that taut. So you're going to go into the stitch of the leg, going off frame. And then you would just want to, let me just pull this through here so I can get it close to the body again. Okay, so I'm happy with the way that looks. So just gonna sew into the body. Come on. Okay, so I'm just gonna sew into the body. Then again into the leg. Oops. Again into the leg. Okay, so you just want to keep on checking to see if you like sewing it in the right place. Okay, so again you're just going to go into the body and then in through the stitch of the leg. Okay. Sorry, this is very fiddly for me because I've got the camera like right in front of me, so apologies if you can't see clearly. I really am trying. Okay, so again making sure that the foot is in the right position, we are just gonna sew back down into the body and then up into the leg. Okay, and again back into the body and then back into the leg. Okay, then back through the body. Okay, let's just see how that looks. Yeah, I think I'm kind of happy with that. Okay, so let's continue to sew this down. Sorry, I'm trying to get this in frame. This is very, very fiddly. Okay, so again, you're just gonna sew up into the leg and then back down into the body like that, and again back through the leg, back through the leg, and then into the body again. Okay, so now I'm nearly finished sewing the leg. So again, I'm just going to sew down into the body and then back up through the leg, coming up next stitch, then back into the body, back into the body, and then into the last stitch of the leg. Okay. Now if you're happy with the way that looks, you can go ahead and do the next leg. Okay, so now we can just sew in our tail end. So again, we're just going to go in through the stitch that we came out of, go out one stitch, and then again go in to the body in the same stitch you came out of, and go out, and then put your needle back into the stitch that you came out of, and then sew out into another stitch, and then go back into the stitch that you came out of, and then back through another stitch that you came out of. Okay, so there's the one leg. Hello. There you go. So yeah, now I can just go ahead and do the next leg. Okay, so I'm just going to trim this down. I've sewn it in quite a bit. Okay, so now we can grab our second leg. Get my yarn and my darning needle, and then again we can see roughly where we want the leg to sit. And of course you've got to be happy with it. Okay, so I'm happy with the way that kind of looks. Okay, so if you look at where it is, it's kind of in the same position as the other leg, obviously making sure that it's facing the right direction. But as you can see, it should somewhat be in line with the next leg. Okay, so yeah, you can just go off and sew the other leg, and then I'll come back and show you what the body looks like once it's all done. Okay, so now I am back after sewing the legs on, and this is what the legs look like. Okay, and this is what the whole doll looks like. There you go. Isn't he just cute? Not the doll, the bear, sorry. Okay, so there we go. Alright, so now we are going to move on to crocheting the little ears over here. The little ears is going to go on the sides here, little 2 ears, and then we will crochet the little snout, and then we will embroider on the nose and the mouth. Okay, so so let's get started with crocheting the ears. Yay. Okay, so now we are just going to move on to the ears. So to begin, we are going to make our magic ring. Okay, again form an X, insert under the first loop, pull up the second loop, and do a chain 1 to secure the magic ring. Okay, and to begin, we're going to put 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, I can pull in our tail end now. Oopsie. Okay, and now moving on to the next round, we are just going to place 2 single crochets into every stitch around. Okay, so we are going to insert into the first single crochet stitch and do 2 single crochets in there, or an increase. Okay, and then we can place our stitch marker into the first stitch. Okay, and then we can continue putting 2 single crochets into every stitch around, or an increase in every stitch around, until we get back to the beginning, and the stitch count should have gone from 6 up to 12. Then I'll meet back up with you when we're ready to move on to the next round. Okay, so now moving on to the next round, you should have 12 by the end of the last round. And to move on to the next round, we are going to put 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then we can place our stitch marker back. Okay, and then we can do an increase into the next stitch. See? Okay, so that's 1, and then 2 single crochets for the increase. And then you just repeat that around, putting 1 single crochet and then an increase in the next stitch all the way around, and your stitch count should have gone from 12 to 18. Yeah, to 18, sorry. Okay, So you can just repeat that, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're ready to move on to the next round. Okay, so moving on to the next round, we should have 18 stitches in this last round. Okay, so now for the next 2 rounds, we are just going to be putting one single crochet. Oopsie. We're just going to be putting one single crochet into each stitch all the way around until we get back to the beginning again. Okay, so again, it's just one single crochet into each stitch around for the next 2 rounds. And you should still have kept a stitch count of 18. Okay, so you can just repeat that, putting one single crochet in each stitch for the next 2 rounds, and then I'll come back up with you when we moving on to the next round. Okay, so by the end of those 2 rounds, it should begin to look something like this. And again, you would have kept the same stitch count of 18. Oops. Okay, so to begin the next round, we are going to decrease this round. So we are going to put one single crochet into the first stitch. And I can insert my stitch marker back into place. And then a decrease into the next stitch. And then a decrease is going through the front loops of the next 2 loops and do a single crochet. Okay, so it's just one single crochet in the next stitch and then a decrease and then one single crochet and then a decrease, and then you just repeat that all the way around until we get back to the beginning again, and then I'll show you how to end off the ear. Okay, so now we have come back and we have completed we have now completed the decrease round. So now just to end off, we are just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So again, a slip stitch is just insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop on your hook. I'm just going to grab our scissors, and then we are just going to cut a little bit of a tail, not too much, and then pull that up, and there is your ear. So we are actually going to be folding this in half like that, and then we're going to sew that onto the bear. So if I can just show you. So here's our little bear, and we're going to put the ears on like that. I'm going to sew it onto the side. Let me actually just zoom out a little bit. so you can see. So his ears will go like that. Okay. And anyway, so now you can just go off and make the second ear, and then I'll come back and then I'll show you how to sew the ears onto the bear. Okay, so now that we have both the ears completed, they should be looking something like this. So yeah, you just fold it in half basically to create the ear, and here you go, there's ears. Okay, so now we're going to sew them onto the head. Okay, so let's get our little doll out, our little bear. Okay, and now we're just gonna we're just gonna sew the ears onto the head. Okay, I'm just gonna change my camera angle so that everyone can see. Okay, so now I am here with the bear, and now we're just going to sew the ears onto the bear. Okay, so let me just zoom in just a little bit just so that you can see clearly of what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just going to get my tapestry needle out again. Oops. Okay, and then I'm just going to take one, and then I'm going to thread my needle. Okay, and then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to place our ears not too far down on the left, because then it looks like monkey ears, not like two at the top, but like somewhere in the middle, like that. So maybe have it about, let's see, let's maybe put the other one there. Yeah. So you just need to like kind of like see roughly where it's going to look. Okay, so I kind of like the way that sits over there. I think that looks nice. Okay, so I think I'm going to sew it about here. So it's about 1, 2, 3, about like 3 to 4 rounds before the top of the head. Okay, so I'm just going to sew into the body, and then back into the ear, then back into the body, back into the body, and then out one of the stitches. Okay. And then again back into the ear, and then out into the body. Okay, and then you're just going to sew that again. Back into the ear. Back into the ear. And back into the body. Okay, so then I'm just going to get just like the corner stitch of the ear over there. Just going to thread it through, and then I'm just going to go into the next stitch of the body, and then it should come out by the third round from the top. Then we're just going to turn it around, and then we're going to sew this end down as well. So again, we're going to go in through the ear, and then back down into the body. Okay, so back into the body. Okay, and then again in through the head, back into the body. And then you just repeat that, sewing the ear to the body. Okay, so we're nearly done. Again, I'm just going to catch like the corner of the ear, and then I'm just going to sew it down back into the body, like over here. And there we go. There's the one ear, and then we just need to repeat that for the other ear. Okay. So yeah, so you'll just sew the other ear down roughly where you want it. So like over there, for instance. You can have it a little higher up, or however you fancy. Okay, but in order to make sure that they are sitting roughly in the same sort of areas, you just count the number of rows and just see like roughly where they sit. Okay, so once you have both those ears sewn, I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay. And again, after you have sewn the ears on, you just want to sew in the tail end, and you do that by going into the project, coming out of a stitch, and then go into the same stitch you came out of, and then back out through another stitch in the project, and then you're going to go back into the stitch that you came out of, and then again back into the work, coming out of another stitch, and then just repeat that process a few times until you are happy with it. Okay, and once you're happy, you can trim the tail end down. Okay, there we go. That's what our little bee should beginning to look like now. His cute little ears. Okay, it'll take more shape once we add the snouts and put the nose on. I'm also going to add a little tail. Okay, so let's go and start crocheting the snout. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to crocheting the snout or the nose, mouth, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, after we have made the snout, we are going to embroider the nose on. Okay, so to begin with, we're going to again start with the magic ring. We are going to insert under the first loop, pull up the second loop, and do a chain 1 to secure. And then again, you're just going to place 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, and then you just pull your tail end tight till the hole closes. And then for the next round, you're going to want to put an increase into every stitch around. Okay, so put 2 into your first stitch, so that's 1 and 2. And then you're going to get your stitch marker. Then you are again going to place your stitch marker into the first stitch. Okay, and again, I'm going to put 2 single crochets into each stitch around. Okay, so your stitch count would have gone from 6 up into 12 after the end of this round, just putting an increase into every stitch. Okay, oopsie. Alright, so now moving on to the next round, we are going to put 1 single crochet into the first stitch, put our, we're going to put our stitch marker back into the first stitch, and then we're going to do an increase into the next stitch, and then you're going to put 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then again an increase into the next stitch. 1 and 2, and then again you just repeat that all the way around, putting 1 single crochet in the next stitch and then 2 single crochets into the following stitch, and you just repeat that all the way around until you get back to the beginning again, and your stitch count should have gone from 12 to 18 by the end of this round. Okay, so you can just carry on with that, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're at the beginning again. Okay, so now for the next 3 rounds, we are going to put 1 single crochet into each stitch around for the next 3 rounds, keeping a stitch count of 18. Okay, so you'll just go ahead and do those 3 rounds of 1 single crochet in each stitch with no increases or decrease, keeping the same stitch count of 18, and I'll meet back up with you when we have completed those 3 rounds of 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Okay, so now that we've come to the end of those 3 rounds, it should begin to look something like this. It's going to start what would you call it? Yeah, so it's gonna start like fold up into like a bowl shape almost, and this is exactly what we want. Okay, so to end this off, we are just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So insert, pull through, and then pull through the loop on your hook, and then you just want to cut your yarn. I have already done that, and then I'm just gonna pull that through. So that's my tail end, but yes, you'll want to leave quite a bit of a tail for sewing. So yeah, now we can just sew our little snout, or a muzzle, whatever you want to call it. Muzzle, I don't think that's the correct word. The snout onto the bear. Okay. Okay, so now what we're going to want to do is we're just going to want to sew the snouts onto the bear. Okay, so we're going to get our bear into the picture. Okay, so we would want to place it kind of like low-ish, but not too low. You know, you don't really want it like so you're going to want it like a little bit at an angle. Okay, so we're just going to take our needle and thread. Going to take our needle and then we're just going to thread. Oops, going to thread our needle. Okay, so now roughly where you want the nose to sit. It's also like your personal preference. I mean, if you want the snout to be like directly in the middle of the face like that, then by all means you can. Or if you want to have it like slightly down like that, you can. I don't know what looks better. Yeah, let's have it like that, I think. Okay, so what you want to do is you just want to go into the body where your thread's coming out of. Well, where it's coming out of from the nose, you just want to insert your needle on the base or the body opposite where the needle's coming out, and then you just want to sew up into the next stitch, and then you must always like try and like reposition it just so that you are sewing it like where you want it to. So you must always reposition it to see if you're actually sewing it in like the place you want it to. Okay, so now I've gone in through the nose again. I'm going to come out through the body. Okay, and then again you're going to go in through the nose. Oops. Come on. In through the nose like that, and then down into the body again. Okay. Okay. So you can just continue sewing this all the way around until you're happy with it. But yeah, so we're just going to continue crocheting this until we are left with like a little gap before we sew it all the way closed, and then we are just going to stuff the nose a little bit. Okay, so again you just want to keep like checking it and repositioning it that it's in the right place, and then insert into the body and then back up through the nose. Oops. And back down onto the body, always adjusting it to where you're happy with it. Okay, and then you're just gonna sew down into the body again, and then back up into the nose. Turn it this way so I can get a better angle. Okay, and then you're just going to sew it back into the nose again. See, it's beginning to take shape. Quite like this. This is actually my first bear that I've designed. So let me know how well I'm doing. Now, this is my first bear I've designed. I've designed a tiger before, like a small mini tiger based off of a reference picture. But yeah, it didn't quite go as well. I kind of made the body a bit slimmer than what it was in the picture, so it looks a bit funny. But yeah, so again we're just going to continue sewing. Oops, I forgot to leave a little bit of hole. Okay, so now since we have like a little bit of a hole before we finish sewing that, I'm just going to grab some stuffing. Again, you don't want to stuff the snout too much. Yeah, just fold that back out. Okay, just trying to feel, whoops, just trying to see if it's enough stuffing. Okay, I think I should just get a little bit more stuffing and just stuff this a bit more. Okay, so I just grabbed a little bit more stuffing, and I'm just gonna push a little bit more inside there. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Okay, let's put the rest aside and then we can continue crocheting the nose in place. Okay, so again we're going to go back into the nose, and then back down into the body. Oops. Back down into the body, and then back into the nose to close it off. Okay, let me just go into the body one more time and then come out on the nose. Okay, here we go. There's our little snout starting to take place. Okay, now we just need to sew in our tail end. So again, we can just insert it in through the nose and come out of a stitch on the head, and then you can insert, and we can even go into the nose if you want to. Go into the nose, go back down into the stitch that you came out of, and then back down into the head. Okay, and then do that again, go back down into the head, come out maybe by the neck, then back into the body and back into the head, and then into another stitch of the head, and back into the head, and then come out of another stitch. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Okay, now just to trim this down. Okay, so there we go. That is what our little bear looks like so far. Yeah, hello. Okay, so now we are just going to crochet the tail, and then we're going to sew that on, and then we're going to embroider the nose and the mouth onto the snout. Okay, so let's start crocheting the little tail. Okay, so for the tail we are again just going to make a magic ring. Okay, and then we're just going to do a chain 1 to secure it. You're going to pull the loop off your fingers, and then you're going to do just 6 single crochets into the magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Okay, so now after we've done those 6 single crochets, we are now going to move on to the next round. And for the next round, we're just going to place 1 single crochet into every stitch around for the next 3 rounds. Okay, so again it's just 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 3 rounds. So you would have kept the same stitch count of 6. Okay, so that's 2, and then 6, the last one. Okay, so now our little tail should be looking something like this. Okay, so now we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Whoops. And then we can end off, and then we can sew the little tail onto the body. Okay, again leaving a bit of a tail, and then come on, and then pull that yarn through. Okay, I'm just going to trim my tail end here. I didn't crochet over it all the way. Okay, so there's a little tail. You can stuff this if you want. I think maybe I will stuff it just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to grab a little bit of stuffing. You probably won't need as much as this. But yeah, so you're just going to take blunt scissors and you're just going to, come on, place your stuffing over the tail, and then you're just going to push the stuffing in with your blunt scissors. Okay, clearly that's enough because no more stuffing is wanting to go inside. Okay, just pushing the last little bit in. Yeah, so there's a little tail. Look at that, isn't that just cute? Okay, so now we're just going to sew this onto our little body. You're just going to place it like roughly where you want the tail to sit, and bear in mind where you place it. Okay, so it must be kind of like in the center of the body, not too high, not too low. Okay, and then you just want to sew into the project. Okay, so you just want to sew into the project, and then sew into a stitch of the tail, and then sew back down into the body. Okay, I actually need to go back this way and sew it down this side. Okay, sew it down into the project again, and then sew back into the tail. Yeah, we're nearly done with this, and then just go back to the body one more time, and then back into the tail one more time, just to secure it. And here's our little tail. May look a bit funny, but it adds to the character, doesn't it? Okay, so again we're just going to go into the project and come out of another stitch, and then again we're going to go into the same stitch that we came out of, and then back into the body, and then go into the stitch we came out of, and then back out into a stitch of the body, and then into the stitch that you came out of, and then back into the body again. Okay, so now we can cut our yarn, and there we go. There is our little bear. Hello. I think it's quite cute. Let me fix his ear quickly. Here we go. I think it's quite cute.
Here's his little tail. Hello. I think he's really adorable. Yeah. So now I just need to embroider the nose and the mouth. And then that's our teddy done.
Okay, so now we're just going to take this fun cotton yarn. You can use the same, if you've got the same weight yarn as the cotton in black, then that's perfectly fine. I'm just using this because I don't have anything else to use. So yeah, I'm just going to take quite a little bit of this because we are going to be doubling up on our yarn. And then I'm just going to cut that, move that aside. And then I'm just going to take my yarn and then I'm going to double it up. I'm going to place the two ends together. And then I'm going to treat this as if this was one single strand. Sorry if you can hear noise in the background. My little kitty cat is in my room and she's playing with my bag of stuffing. Yeah, she's still a kitten. Okay, so we're just going to go in through a stitch of the head, anywhere on the head, and then come through a stitch on the nose. Okay, we can just leave a little bit of a tail. We'll probably sew that in later. And then we're just going to go over like 3 stitches, go back into there, and then go back out into the same stitch that we first came out of. Oops, dragging the scissors along with it. Okay, so then we just do that again, going into the same stitch that we came out over here, go into there, put that up. Okay, and then we're just going to sew down like 3 stitches. Just going to go into there, and then we're going to come out into the same stitch at the top, like that. Okay, and then from here, just going to come out at the top over here. Sorry, I'm out of frame. Okay, so we're just going to come out over here. So we're going to come in over here and then come out at the bottom of the triangle. Pull that through. And again, we're going to do that. Okay, let's do that again. Okay. So now you can just keep going back and forth like this until the little nose is closed up completely and we can't see any more blue. And then I'll come back and show you what this looks like once it's finished. Okay, so what I'm going to do now to just close it is I'm just going to go in through like the corner there, and I'm just going to pull on like that and then go through this side. Oops. Do that again, and again this side. Okay, it's nearly closed. Oops. Okay, there we go. So that's what the nose should be looking like. Okay, it's a bit big and bulky. But it's the nose, I guess. Okay, I'm just trying to fix the nose to make it look a little bit better. Okay, so now we're just going to sew down in a line. So I'm just going to just stick my needle out into the bottom. And then I'm just going to say come about go from here and then just, oh man, there we go, and then just do that again. So you're just forming the line of the nose. Okay, let's just do that one more time. Okay. Making sure that all of those strands lay flat. Okay. Okay, so if you're happy with the way that looks, we can now sew in our tail end. Okay, so again, to do that, you're just gonna put your needle in through the nose, come out anywhere on the body. Here we go. Okay, and then you're just going to sew back into the body again, and then come out somewhere else, and then again go into the body. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so that is what our little nosy should begin to look like. It is a bit big and bulky, but I think that's okay for the little bear. Okay, so now we can just tug on that a little bit and cut that down close to the project, and then we can sew in this other end, and then our little bear is done. Okay, I'm just going to sew in this other end quickly. Okay, so now that we have finished sewing on the nose, it should be looking something like this. Hello! Isn't he just cute? Okay, let's get a full shot of him. Yeah, so there's our little bear. Isn't he just adorable? There's his little tail. Okay, so there he is. Hello. I think it's reasonably cute, don't you think so? Yeah, well, that's it for this little video. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Okay guys, so that's the end of today's tutorial of making this cute little stuffed bear. Hello! Okay, so if you enjoyed watching this tutorial, if you enjoyed making your bear as much as I enjoyed making him, then please give this video a like and maybe even comments, and if you can, subscribe, and then if you could hit the notification bell, I'd really appreciate that. But yeah, so this is it for the little bear tutorial. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your crocheting. So yeah, thank you guys. Bye!